The price of the PS5 Pro was so shocking, it woke me up from my midweek slumber, and it's forcing me to record a video during the week again. And I don't even remember what the midweek intro music is. Welcome to Mike Texts It Out. I'm Mike, and we have to talk about the PS5 Pro. So I was at work earlier when the stream went live, so initially I just caught the very end of the stream where it showed some of the games running on the PS5 Pro, and then it showed the price, and I literally said, what the fuck? And that was basically my reaction for most of the day until I got home and I was able to watch the full presentation. So before we talk more about the price, let me just do a quick rundown of what Sony is actually offering with the PS5 Pro. So Sony's Mark Cerny starts off this presentation by emphasizing that on the current PS5, players have to choose between fidelity mode, which runs at 30 frames per second and looks choppy, or performance mode, which runs at 60 frames per second but has reduced visuals. And by the way, they actually said that fidelity mode can look choppy on their $500 system. So that's not me saying that, I'm just paraphrasing what they said. But they also said that 75% of the time players are choosing performance mode because they prefer higher frame rates. Well, thankfully, Sony has solved that problem with the PS5 Pro, which according to Sony can render games 45% faster, has 2 to 3 times faster ray tracing, and is using their new AI-driven upscaling called PSSR to further improve performance. And also looks-wise, just to touch on that, it looks the way everyone thought it would look. It's the current PS5 design with more ridges in the middle. The same accessories seem to work from the Slim with the Pro, at least the vertical stand and the disk drive, which we'll talk more about later. So if you follow my news videos, you probably heard a lot of these rumors before the system actually came out. They basically pointed to all this stuff, including the way the console looks that leaked recently, and then them doing their own upscaling similar to what Nvidia offers with DLSS. So with all of that combined, Sony's pitch for this console is that you get the graphics and fidelity mode at 60 frames per second, and it only costs you $699.99. Unless you want the disk drive, that's an additional $79.99. So okay, so maybe overall it's $780. Unless you need the vertical stand, which is also sold separately, so that's $810 altogether. And that's a price. All right, so to summarize Sony's whole presentation today, they basically did a Digital Foundry style breakdown of their own console, and they were like, yeah, the PS5 is kind of choppy in fidelity mode, and in performance mode, it doesn't look as good up close, but the PS5 Pro is going to fix all that. So yeah, it was a little weird to kind of see them talk badly about their current flagship, especially because it's still $500 and it's probably still the console that most people are going to buy just because it's more affordable. And I use affordable loosely. So overall, everything they said made sense. Like, you can get better graphics with the Pro and hit 60 frames per second. But I think for the most part, people are fine with the performance of the current PS5. Like, yeah, performance mode doesn't look as good, but also a lot of people don't have great TVs anyway, or they don't really care that much about the visuals. Like, they probably don't even notice that much of a difference other than the frame rate when going from fidelity to performance. So I do think this is going to be a really hard sell for Sony, and I feel like the price kind of reflects that. Now, personally, I was surprised about the price. With the last story I covered about the price on Sunday, with analysts saying they thought it would be around $600 to $650, I thought it'd probably land at $600 because it's a mid-gen refresh. No matter how good the games look, the game still has to run on a base PS5, so that's still ultimately going to be a bottleneck for the PS5 Pro. So I think $100 more is reasonable for people who want that extra performance. But when I think about it now, I feel that Sony priced it so high because they know the demand for it isn't going to be that high. I think most people are fine with the PS5 performance, and the few people who want better graphics at 60 frames per second will probably pay the $700 or $810 if you get the disk drive and vertical stand with it. In the previous generation, when the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X came out, it felt like the base consoles were struggling to even run games at 30 frames per second, so it was a worthwhile upgrade for a lot of people. The PS5 is not really struggling to run games, so it just kind of feels unnecessary. Now, the other reason that Sony can price this console so high is because they don't have competition in this performance bracket. Last year, when Microsoft went to court with the FTC to argue about their purchase of Activision, they mentioned that Sony was working on a PS5 Pro and they had nothing to compete with it. Now, of course, Microsoft could have been lying, so they didn't have to reveal what they were working on, but they accidentally leaked documents from that case, and the only thing console-wise that leaked was the digital Xbox Series X, which is finally releasing albeit in a different form factor, later this year. So Sony basically knew that they were not going to have competition in this sector of performance, and I think that they knew the demand would probably be low for the system. Even in their presentation, they were showing the comparison shots like, yes, the Pro looked better, but it didn't really feel like it was a compelling enough difference to sway people into getting a PS5 Pro for $700. And I think Sony probably knows that as well. And also, on a side note, did anyone else notice how fast that stream ended when they showed the price? Like, as soon as my shock was over, I looked back at the screen, and the screen was just black. Sony, you as cold as ice. Anyway, after my initial shock was over, I think the price of the PS5 Pro isn't important for the people who want to buy the PS5 Pro. I think those people are going to buy it anyway. I think the price of the PS5 Pro is far more important to the PlayStation 6 and the Xbox, whatever subtitle they come up with the next generation. Because if the PS5 Pro actually does well at $700, I can almost guarantee that the next generation of consoles will go up in price, whether it's $600 or $700. If they feel like people are willing to pay that much, then that's what they're going to charge. But let me know how you feel in the comments about the PS5 Pro pricing. Let me know if you're actually planning to buy one. I'm going to go back to sleep until Sunday. And until then, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button thing to be notified when I drop a video, which is mostly on Sundays or a live stream. And always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.